What's up, everybody? This is Brad, and today I want to discuss with you guys whether or not we could be seeing Pokemon on the Nintendo Switch Game Boy and Game Boy Advance catalogs at some point for Nintendo Switch Online. And now, when they announced this, I was very happy. Probably my favorite part of the recent Nintendo Direct. I really want them to make these online catalogs worth something. And I was overall very happy. Very small selection of games that they gave us right off the bat. But I think that if they were only going to give us a few, they wouldn't have even bothered. So I'm sure these libraries will fill up in time. Hopefully more than just one game a month like they're doing for the Nintendo 64. I mean, they're Game Boy games. They're not that long. So hopefully we'll get like they used to do for the NES and the Super NES and drop 2 or 3 at a time. That's what I'm hoping. Because when's even the last time we got an NES or Super NES game for that catalog? I can't even remember. But the last few ones they did get is like literally just bottom of the barrel, like games that nobody even knew existed, it seems. But anyway, the thing is with this announcement is it starts it gives you reason to get your hopes up, because like Pokemon Day is coming up at the end of the month probably. I don't even think there's an official date set yet for whenever they're going to do that presentation, because they've generally now moved to keeping those separate. Pokemon stuff is all contained to one separate presentation itself, and that's generally how it's been going for a while. What do they call it? Pokemon Presents, I think. Or I don't even know. They may even just call it Pokemon Direct. But anyway, there was a Pokemon reference in this lineup, and that was for the Pokemon TCG. So Pokemon's going to be in this library. It already is. Oh, no, not yet. That's for an addition later for the Game Boy. But the thing is that the biggest games for the Game Boy, I think some of the biggest sellers for those were the Pokemon games for both the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance. So there's gonna be a lot of demand to have these games moved up, maybe even given some kind of online play so you can do battles in these older generation Pokemon games on this new system. So especially with Pokemon Stadium. We already know Pokemon Stadium is going to be added to the Nintendo 64 catalog at some point. That should be pretty soon. If they're going to go, they've been going in the order in which they listed them in that Nintendo Direct from the end of last year. And the next game that should be up to be added is Mario Party 3. But they could just do it separately and announce on Pokemon Day that, when is Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2 coming. They could do, I would figure they would probably do those together, like they did Mario Party 1 and 2. But I figure they could announce Stadium, then announce that the Pokemon games were going to be added to Nintendo Switch Online, the Game Boy games, Red, Yellow, and Blue, at least for the States. I know Japan had Green, and I'll get back to that one in just a second. But announce those be coming to the Switch Online, and then announce that there is connectivity between the games. We talk about this before when they announced Pokemon Stadium, is that there is a feature within the Stadium games that allows you to play Game Boy games within Pokemon Stadium. It's in the first game. I don't remember if it was a different one. It's called Game Boy Tower, I think, or like something like that. But you can upgrade it within the game and to like Doduo mode and Dodrio mode or something like that. And you can play the game at twice its speed or 3 times its speed. So you can speed through the games. If you don't want to have to play the game as it normally runs, this Pokemon Stadium feature will allow you to just speed the game up. And it's a pretty handy little feature. If there's something specific you want to do, and like you're trying to get through a really complicated dungeon, you don't want to spend, forever in there, you can at least speed up the gameplay and try to get out of there real fast. I mean, it garbles the sound up and everything, and it's pretty bad. It gets kind of annoying, but it is a little bit amusing. But that's just something, that's just an old thing from the past that I think would be fun to see again. And I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do that technically if, I don't know how the storage is stored for, all this stuff when you save game data and all that. But I would like to think since these are tied to your Switch profile, then one part of your profile should be able to access data from the other one. And therefore, if you wanted to build a team of Pokemon from your Game Boy game within Nintendo 64's catalog on Pokemon Stadium, you should be able to do that. That's what I would like to think, that they would rework that in a way that would let that connectivity that was there before with the 64 and the Game Boy, bring that into the new, bring that into the Switch, whatever you have to do to be able to make it work. Because I think that would be a nice little treat. Of course, that could just be, that may not ever happen, because if you'll remember, when they did announce Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2, there was a little disclaimer at the bottom that said games will, Pokemon cannot be imported into games. But this was before they announced this. So it's entirely possible that was just down there as an, to not let people, tip their hand that, hey, we will be adding the games. And unfortunately, there's also the possibility that even if they do add the Pokemon games to the service, that it won't be able to connect to Pokemon Stadium. But I think either way, this is going to be something that we will see for Pokemon Day. I think it would be the perfect opportunity there at the end of the month to say, hey, Pokemon Yellow, Red, and Blue coming to Nintendo Switch Online. And even, I'm going to say this, as I would like to see this as a surprise, an English version of Pokemon Green. I don't think we ever got that, and I'm not counting Pokemon Leaf Green for the Game Boy Advance either. I think it would be a pretty cool little touch if I say if, because it's not certain, but I feel like it's inevitable that they're going to add the Pokemon games to this. I would say, when it happens, make an English version of Green. Because that's a game we've never been able to play before officially in English, and I think that I don't think that would be too difficult of a task to put together. But what else could we do? And of course, it's not just those 4 games. I figured you could do them in waves. Say like the first wave, Yellow, Red, Blue, and hypothetical English version of Green. Next wave, Silver, Gold, and Crystal. Next wave for Nintendo Game Boy Advance, you do Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And then, or maybe not that, but do Ruby and Sapphire. Then in the third wave, you do Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald. Since Emerald came out after Fire Red and Leaf Green. I think those 3 all had the Battle Frontier, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm not sure. Emerald had some stuff that was pretty unique to it, from that's made it stand out against Ruby and Sapphire, but I do think it borrowed some elements from Fire Red and Leaf Green too. But anyway, I think that would be a cool idea to see some of this stuff. Again, I think that's a good sign. I think it's a good sign that we got Pokemon trading card game in there, which means that whenever they whenever Pokemon Day does roll around, there won't be any need to discuss Pokemon trading card game being on the service because it's already been revealed that it's going to be there. So then you can just completely focus on the traditional Pokemon games, and I think people would like that. So what do you guys think? Do you think that we will actually get to see these games on the Switch Online service? And do you think that they will be... I'd assume that they would definitely have to have online. All the other games that where online or multiplayer was a big focus have online play. So I'm going to assume that one's just going to happen. But what about connectivity between Stadium and Stadium 2? Do you think that will happen? Or do you think that that's just too much of a stretch? It may be too difficult to pull off with the technology. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Anyway, I'm excited for this either way. There's a lot of most of the games I have for these two systems, particularly the Game Boy Advance, for third-party games like Dragon Ball and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Hamtaro. So I don't know how many of those we'll probably see on on these servers here. Probably not those. I doubt we'll get Legacy of Goku. I would love to be wrong. I would absolutely love to be wrong and see them announce Legacy of Goku 1 and 2, and then what was the third one? Was Boo's for Fury or something like that. I never played the third one, but or the Hamtaro games. I've wondered who owns the rights to Hamtaro. Like, I don't think there's been any new Hamtaro anything in decades. So, or maybe not decades, at least back to the DS. So it's probably not, it probably wouldn't be that expensive to get the rights to that if you knew how or knew who had the rights to the Hamtaro video games. So, and I think those were pretty popular. So I'd be happy to do that. I played Ham Hams Unite on this channel through emulation. But I would be more than happy to play, say, Ham Ham Heartbreak on the Switch for the channel. I've been wondering what my next, handheld game from back in the day would be, and Ham Ham Heartbreak was one of my options I was thinking about going with, but, I want to see them fill these libraries up as much as possible with their own stuff, and I just, I'm looking forward to this. And at this point now, I'm just really interested to see how Pokemon Day unfolds. Anyway, appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And we're going to wait for Pokemon Day to see if old Pikachu gets to go back to his pixeled handheld days again and get to play these games on the Switch. Till then, I'll see you later.